I could never in my right mind think that that's okay to think, to say, for it to even get to that point where you're so vocal about exuding harm on anybody in this world. Hello. Was good. Good looking.
Just being here with you, like blushing. Oh my god, you're so pretty.
Oh my god, thank you so much. So are you.
You're so welcome. Do you want my number?
Of course.
Okay. I'll give it to you after the episode.
Okay, that's totally cool. Welcome back, you guys. This is the Daily Humans podcast, and I'm Nina.
And I'm Flirtatious Ashley.
Ooh, Flirtatious Ashley. Welcome to the building.
Yes. We had to start the episode off with some flirtatiousness.
Yes, mi amor. I got up.
I don't know what to say in a different language. I'll say it in Aussie way. Oh yeah, mate. Mm-hmm.
Wow, I felt that. Just pierced my heart real quick. I love your humor, Ashley. I love you so much. You are so incredible in every way. Before this episode started, Ashley was making a few comments. It just made me laugh. And I'm every single time, I've noticed this, Ash, every single time where you flirted, you've been a pro at it. You're like top tier, and you do it in a way that's still funny and cute and gets to the point, but not cringy. You never do it cringy. You never do it in a way that's offensive. So I feel like a lot of people out there, especially men out there right now, please take note from Ashley. She's a flirting pro. She's fantastic.
Oh, honey bun, sugar lump, pop drop, apple crumble. My friend, you're worth it. I love you too.
Thank you.
And honestly, I'd flirt with you any day because you are the apple to a pie. You are the blueberry to a beautiful muffin. Ooh. You are the caramel to the slice.
Nice. I love all
you are
those
the beat of my heart.
Mm.
Mm. Mm. Nina, hi.
Oh, you
bring out the best of me, because this was not something I could have done once upon a time. I could never have been this open. Like, this is who I am. So you bring out the best in me.
Thank you. So do you. Absolutely. Not only do you bring out the best of me, but you help me to shed the layers of myself that are no longer serving me and no good for me. And you're able to make me be more at ease and happy and have more fun. And I truly, truly appreciate that. We legit just talked about this as well. We need more fun in our lives. So when I go to Australia, it's on. It's on.
Hulk smash into the fun. Oh, 100%. We deserve it. We need it, my friend. Absolutely. I got some big plans for her. In my notes section, I have Nina, what we are doing with Nina. And then it's just like a full list of things, a full list.
Nice.
I said to her, you're not going to have time for jet lag, my friend, because bam, here, there. I don't think you drink coffee. No, you don't.
I like coffee. It depends on what kind, though. Like milky chocolate, milky coffee is the way to
chocolate. You'll love the coffee here then. You will definitely love the coffee here. So that's the first thing I'll give you. A cafe experience in Melbourne. That will be a little cherry on top. And then the beach.
I have seen so many videos recently from Melbourne beaches, and I was like, wow. Like when I see that in person, I will like pass away because it is so stunning and so beautiful. It does not look real. Absolutely stunning.
Oh, this is the thing. If you can swim in it, it's beautiful. But there are some beaches, the waves are so, I swear, the amount of times I've almost just like completely drowned swimming in certain, like our currents. I've always just wished that there was a very calming beach that I could go to. Because the beaches I've been to in the last few years, it's like the moon has just unleashed its rage. Unleashed. Damn. Could be me, but oh well. But nonetheless, my friend, the beach that I take you to, I'm going to be absolutely hoping that it's just calm, serenity, peace. You know? I mean,
can hear it now.
Who cares if it's crashing waves, but still.
I can hear it now, the waves coming in and out. Beautiful.
The waves. Listen to that, yes. Book your plane, book your flight. We're coming tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh. You know what? She wants to get out of where she is. I want to get out where I am. So let's just meet halfway and get out of where we are.
Yes, that's a
so, bye-bye. Where would we meet in the middle? Let's meet in Adelaide. Adelaide's kind of nice.
Yeah, sounds nice. It's a pretty name.
Yeah.
I think Melbourne in general, Adelaide, Melbourne, it just sounds, even Brisbane, I would say, sounds a lot more, I don't know, nicer than Sydney. Like, I'm not shading anybody. I've never been to Sydney, so I can't say. But I just, from the impression that I get when I think about the cities, from what I've seen and stuff, especially Melbourne, that's been like #1 place I've needed to go. And going to Australia has been on my to-do list, my lifetime dream wish list since I've been, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years old, since I realized you can surf, and surfing was a thing, and I wanted to be a surfer as a kid. So it's like, I gotta go to Australia. That's the only place to be. Yeah, now I don't want to be a surfer. I would love to try, but the sharks scare me, and so does the plastic in the ocean. So soon it won't be an ocean, it'll be just a whirlpool because it's so warm. But I'm excited regardless to go, and I'm excited to see you and have fun and go to Melbourne and anywhere else. New Zealand. Oh, don't get me started. Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna start crying. Talk about the New Zealand and oh my gosh. If we don't go soon, I'm gonna lose my crap.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lose my crap if I don't get out of here soon. I'm going to lose it because I'm losing it.
Yeah.
And it's Aries season, so I'm definitely losing it a lot more than usual.
Yes. This season is really starting to bring in the rage.
Rage. Do. Trailer. Let's put a trailer up there, Jay.
Oh gosh, another one.
Rage.
The rage.
The rage.
Yeah.
I swear, and it'll just be like me going, Hulk smash.
Yes, rage has definitely been a topic of discussion between Ashley and I for quite a while now. Whereas I have to learn how to release it more, let it go. And Ashley has been honing her craft in releasing. But a couple days ago, I said to Ash, I really want to go to a rage room. I've never really gotten it before, to be completely honest. I never have. I was like, oh, no, it's not really my thing. But it's like it's bubbling under my skin. And it's a form of release. You know, it's a form of letting things go and processing your emotions. And Ashley was a major healant and mentor of mine in that sense, because she's like, anger is not bad. It's there for a reason, and you need to let it out, because if you don't, it'll just eat away at you. And I think it's so perfect. This is why I laugh, because I'm like, you're like the perfect Aries, you know? It's like, release the rage.
I'm like the perfect Aries. That's the first time I've heard that. We're not all anger. That's the thing too. Yeah. We're not all anger and rage. It's just like, it's just finding the balance of a healthy anger, but also knowing that you're going to have rage and anger, just boundarying that and healthy, So I'm an Aries that is on the journey of, bringing anger to the surface and then just trying to find my balance in it. Like Nina. Nina is what's it called? An underactive anger. I must say.
Yes.
She doesn't, it's not an emotion she expresses a lot of. These days she does when she feels it, but then she'll always kind of retract it and be like, oh yeah,
it's fine.
She'll retract
I forgive.
it. It's not a bad thing that she does do that. It's just knowing, I think for each of us, especially as former people pleasers, that's why it's important, is to know where to go down that road if that's what you choose and when to not.
Yeah.
Because some people they just, especially when they keep doing, when they choose, you know who I'm thinking about. In my head, I'll use that example.
Oh gosh.
When they choose to do things that are inhumane, they are aware of what they're doing, and it's literally done so humanely. You will choose at the end of the day how you react to it, but it's just making sure that when you react to it, it's generally how you want to and not in a people-pleasing way of, I need to cater for that person, even though they're the one projecting and they're choosing to do so. They're not choosing to keep you in mind of the human being you are. They're choosing inhumanity. They're choosing to put you in a position of harm. Yes. That's where the finding the balance is, and it's that journey. There are choices that people make that are not for the good of you. They're to put you in harm's way. And that's knowing that if they're projecting in that light, right, where you have every right to say something and get angry about it, compared to the moment where you choose to maybe love and light kind of thing. It's just finding that balance, because not a lot of people have your highest good in mind.
Yeah.
And it's your choice at the end of the day, without control, whether you love and light it,
right,
or you allow yourself to feel how you deserve to feel over a situation that someone's put you in. Yeah, it's just finding the balance, especially as former people pleasers.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. You're so right. And it's funny because definitely rage or anger in general is not an emotion I don't know if it just isn't there as much or if it has suppressed itself to the point where I don't feel it anymore. But even in moments where I do feel rage, it's there temporarily. I'm learning now to process it and to release it when it's there in a healthy way. And then it just goes. It's very short and it's very fleeting for me. But it's funny because a lot of times when I do find myself in situations where I'm supposed to exude it, I'm just like, I understand why this person is this way. I understand why. Yeah. Well, is it me? No, it's not me. And then when I do express anger, it's like, I feel so sad because I know this person was going through something. It's the Cancer energy.
I mean, it's good to be in the place of self-awareness, but as I've said to her, it's like, Nina, no fault to you, but they choose to harm, even if they've been through things. If they still are choosing to harm someone that is giving them a safe space, it's really assessing how you feel about continuing to do that with someone who is continually disrespecting the space that you're providing for them. You're giving the energy to provide for them. You're doing that. And if they're not willing or trying, you got to protect yourself and your energy because they ain't going to do it for you. And that's for everyone else. And I went on that learning journey as well. We got to protect our spaces as well as be open, which is another journey in itself.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And when it comes to protecting spaces, I think we as women definitely need to be very mindful of who we let into our sanctity and our sacredness, because we have so much love to give, and we tend to be givers a lot when it comes to the people that we truly love and have in our hearts. And so this is kind of bordering, this episode will kind of be bordering on that, and kind of tapping into our personal rage. For me, something that has piqued my rage, talking about safe spaces and making sure that we are really honoring who we are allowing into that. A big topic that has come up for me and definitely in the zeitgeist of existence for all of us on the internet right now is unfortunately kind of the, shall I say, toxic distribution of some, I don't know if it's everybody, I'm sure it's not, but it's just there has been a lot of content that is very concerning to me regarding the toxicity of men, aka broadcasters, podcasters for men by men, that have kind of in the last couple days for me, or the last couple weeks for me personally, amped up to the point of severe concern. And to the point where I'm not even understanding how content that is often being discussed like this in a lot of these toxic male podcasts shows is even allowed on the internet. I don't know why it's on the internet. I don't understand how it can reach people in that sense and then influence younger boys and men's minds. And it's just, it's unfortunate. We've had a lot of examples. Ashley, she's about to chime in. She's about to step into the ring and like drop the mic several times, because she and I, you and I, Ash, we have talked about this so many times, and it's about time that we bring it to the podcast, because not a lot of people are talking about it in their own podcasts. I feel like people make commentary online on TikTok and things like that, but that's it. And then these people keep being rotated around. And so, yes, today we will be diving into just kind of this cultural, I don't know, thing that has popped up recently. I don't even know if it's recently, because I'm sure it is generationally based, but unfortunately right now a lot of unhealthy people have a platform that is doing a lot of damage to a lot of people, and it's time that we discuss that.
It's inhumanity in a lot of ways, because it goes against human. It goes against what's human. It goes against the human beings that they're talking about. And they don't see a problem with it, because if you are speaking on taking away someone's right to say no or taking away their choice, it's inhumane. If you're projecting anything that is harm towards another human being, it's inhumane. If you're not speaking for the goodwill of human beings, what are you speaking about it for, really? A lot of it is based on taking away safe space for human beings. And it's just, it's so apparent to me that people can just freely have these conversations, but then those same people want to have these platforms and have a safe space to have these platforms, yet you're taking that away from other people in physical reality by telling other human beings, this is how you should treat women. This is how you should treat people in the LGBTQIA plus community. My gosh. My gosh. It's promoting harm. It's promoting inhumanity. And people, if people aren't going to see that, well, maybe we should just look at all the evidence out there. The things that get said with gaming, women that are in gaming. There are so many TikTok videos out there of the things that get said, like the wish of harm in such an extent to say the R word, which I don't think we can say on YouTube, I'm not sure, to wish that upon someone and then to find validness in that. I came across a video the other day, I came across a video the other day of a gamer, and a streamer, however you say it, and she was showcasing what it's like when she joins teams and these I'm going to say they were boys, these boys and their projections, right? And my whole thing is, I don't know if these guys who have these podcasts and say things online actually understand what they're implementing and how powerful the human mind is and what they're feeding. If you have someone that has a real deep trauma, right, and something has been brought up from that, and you're feeding this psychology of I'm going to harm a certain gender, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't have a single clue because you're not there. You don't see where your words travel, where harm travels. You don't see. You kind of do, though, actually. It's on the news sometimes.
Yeah.
It's on TikTok. So you actually kind of do, but not to the full extent, especially if you have a large platform, of where those words go and the branches that they create. But who cares? Because, you know, it's all about perception. It's all about being a certain individual in the mate group and the friendship group and what that means to that individual. That matters more than human beings, essentially, in my eyes. That matters more. The perception and the look matters more than the safety of other human beings, especially women, with the things that get said.
Yeah, there's a TikToker that actually stumbled upon and told me about that, records from his car and essentially says to not take no for an answer.
Yeah, not take a woman's rejection. How easy is it, do you think, Nina, to sit in your car and make such a broad statement like that? How easy do you think that is? Pretty easy, right? For any of us to do that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he can get out of his car, he goes into his house and, you know, does whatever, his apartment, wherever he is, and just moves on from his day. And then that travels. That video travels, those words travel, and think of it like energy. You have a boy who hears that. A lot of men have actually created their realities on sexual relationships through porn. And there was a big study on it too, right? So you might think that that has nothing to do with all of this, but if you mix that in, it's a branch. Remember, there's branches to this. You put your words out there and you mix that in with whatever mindsets have been created from different little branches from their life, feeds mindsets, certain mindsets. What does that create? What human does that create? Again, you wouldn't know because you've just sat in your car and you've said what you've said and then you moved on with your day. You know? It's not that easy, actually, in terms of if you decide to be someone that posts online. Even we have to have moments of self-awareness, Nina and I, of being careful of what we put out there because we know that the words absorb. We know that energy is everywhere. And it's major. We have to have our intention of putting this out there for the good of humans. And if it's not, don't say it. The amount of times I've almost posted things, but I've had to really think about what's my intention of posting this? Is it for the highest good of humanity? What is my intention? To bring awareness? Okay, it has to be the intention of bringing awareness for the highest good of humanity. It's not present enough. It's a self thing. You know, if you really care about other people, you would sit there and ask yourself, what is my intention for doing this? And they'd probably say to educate men, you know, about women. I don't know about you, all of you, but, you know, having my no rejected when I've firmly stated that would absolutely be a big no-no in my books. Absolutely disrespectful and unsafe. Even the other video that you were talking about too, something someone else said, you mentioned it as well. that guy said on a
Yes.
podcast once about, yeah, you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
there was a video that I saw online that essentially shocked me. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, because I was like, this is the end as we know it, because I saw a video that popped up and it was done in gesture of like a joke of like, oh my God, what is this guy going to say next with these type of podcasters? And essentially what it cut to was he wants to have a small girlfriend. It was based on body image, which we just discussed, but it was based on body image and wanting his girlfriend to look a certain way. And it was because he wants to feel like he can kill her. I want that to really like sit with everybody listening. He said he wants to have a smaller framed woman in his life because he wants to feel like he can kill her. He can just, in his words, throw her up against the wall and just end her life. And when I heard that, I was horrified because I'm like, how can content like this be put out online? Even me saying this is like affecting me because I'm like, I could never in my right mind think that that's okay to think, to say, for it to even get to that point where you're so vocal about exuding harm on anybody in this world. That to me is the reddest flag that there is, because who in your life is not holding you responsible and getting this treated and checked and making you be responsible for your actions and words? And things like that don't just come out of nowhere. You know, like things like that build. And like Ashley said, one person, one little boy can watch that. Not even a little boy, but any man can watch that. And, you know, if he's had a hard time dating or he's just feeling down, or if it's a young kid with an impressionable mind, he's going to see it and it's like, yeah, this is where I form my value or my preference or my thoughts about women or anybody on. And it's not okay. On no level at all is that okay. And it's, you know, we've had a lot of people in the social media form. I'm just going to name some names. Andrew Tate. There's like a podcasters, two guys that do this show. I think the show is ended, but it keeps being spread. And the argument, what I always hear is other men need to hold other men responsible and accountable. And it's like, yes, but also what is feeding this narrative in the first place? Where does it begin? Because it always usually begins in your family line. Rage unattended is a destructor of many things. And I think unfortunately, a lot of men suffer from that. And I say this also to say that anybody who can say stuff like that, that comes from your heart. That doesn't just, you know, appear out of air. That comes from a deep-rooted pain or anger or something. And that needs to be valued and looked at, because that unattended whatever is going to affect a lot of people down the road, whether it is you sitting in your car posting a video online, or you hitting a woman, or you exerting some kind of dominance over somebody. You have no dominance over anybody on this planet, regardless of what gender you are. If you conform to any gender at all, you have no control over anybody on this planet but yourself. And I don't know what it is, honestly, because it's like it's always been there, but I feel like it kind of died down and now it's getting a resurgence. And I'm like, it's coming up for a reason. We need to address this for a reason as a society, because rights are being taken away left and right all around the world with women's rights. And then we have people saying that women's no doesn't matter. And what is that like all leading us up to? We cannot have rights over our bodies, autonomy over our bodies. We cannot say what we want. We cannot dress what we want to wear. We cannot do what we want to do. And then we get the blame. And yet men are out here, so many of them, not all of them, but so many of them are out here just saying things like this and getting away with it. And it's even being able to be uploaded on the internet. And it drives me insane. How is this possible? How have we gotten this far as a society to allow people to speak this way about anyone, but especially this whole community that's been created? Because it's a community at this point. And I've seen men speak out about this, just being like, it's not okay to speak like about women like this. And they get attacked by those types from the groupies that those podcasters then, I don't know, collude with, whatever you want to call it. But they then get attacked, and I'm like, it's like a disease. It keeps like festering in and of itself. And they're like, we don't like nice guys and we don't get respect. Is there a reason for that? And also, what's a nice guy? Because the last time I heard, any woman on this planet just wants decency and respect. And I'm glad that more men are speaking out about this, but we need to have a big discussion, because I don't think people make jokes about this stuff. And I don't think that people are really taking into account how serious this is, because women's rights are being taken away every single day. Women's bodies are being violated. And it's not just women, it's a lot of different people. But it is disgusting that content like this can still be created and uploaded on any media platform, and they get little to no reprimandation. They still get their money. They still have their groupies, and women and us all as a society are worse off because of this, because one person is suppressing everybody.
You know, I think, when I've talked to you about how society doesn't know how to have accountability or responsibility, or take accountability and responsibility.
Yeah.
I think that's in conjunction to this topic in one way, where for generations there has been systematic structures in place by human beings, created by human beings, for women to have certain gender roles, to play a certain part in society, and then to fester on these belief systems that women are emotional and baby carriers, and they're here for the satisfaction of men. Right? That's been passed down. It's just been shaped in a different light as the generations have moved on, right?
Yeah.
What I think is that because the accountability and responsibility is now coming to the surface, and now women are seeing, I'm not going to have a child with someone that is not going to participate as a parent as well. I am not going to give my energy to someone who is not going to treat me like a human being. I am not going to settle just for a systematic structure that tells me that I should be married, that I should have children, no matter how he shows up. I deserve a partner that cooks and cleans and can take care of their individual self as well. I think because a lot of things are coming to the surface, I think this is the resistance to that, because a lot of people don't want to take any accountability and responsibility. So what do you do if you don't want to take accountability and responsibility? You become resistant to something you don't want to see and hear and validate and understand. You play ignorant to it, but you also meet it with ego and sarcasm and arrogance, which is why when women started having these conversations, men were like, well, fine, you can go work in the mines then. You can go do all these jobs that men do, because the protection mode is in place, in feeling like they need to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And all human beings do this in one way or another, right?
Yeah.
But in this case of bringing to light a lot of the things that have been in our system for so long against women, bringing it to the surface is just such a, oh no, we're not going to fix this and heal it. We're just going to get angry at it and meet you all with resistance and tell you that call you all the names under the book and tell you to go to the kitchen and make us a sandwich instead. And we're just going to keep falling back into the patterns and just keep folding through that, you know? And this is the other thing too, right? It's not actually helping their fellow mates either.
Right.
Because when you stay in these cycles of projecting inhumanity, in my words, you can hold your mates to a certain point, but at the same time, if you can't see humanity, how do you see that with your mates?
Right.
How do you hold space for them? Because at the end of the day, we're all humans, right? We're all humans. How do you hold space for human beings in general? It really does fall onto a lot more than just your projections towards women and your resistance towards the movements that are coming up, like the 4B movement as well. They've met it with resistance from what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
They're meeting it with resistance because it's too difficult to actually take any accountability. Because, geez, anything else but taking accountability, anything else, oh, we'll just take the worst road possible rather than stand there and get uncomfortable to then heal and move forward. You might have to get uncomfortable for a bit, but it's moving forward. That's the point, breaking the cycles. That's the whole point of this. It's not about hate, and it's not about going against anyone. It's about, hey, recognize the behaviors that are happening here. And a lot of us are scared to have children because of it. I'm scared to have a boy or a girl. A boy being around this mindset and a girl being put through this mindset. You know, I'm afraid for both. And it's just even they as well, the LGBTQIA, the unsafety in that too, the projections within that. It's terrifying to think of bringing children up in a space where no one is creating any safe spaces, to what they project online, to what they say, to joining a podcast and speaking about how, you know, women are only good for companionship and for sex, and, you know, that's really just it in a lot of ways. I think Andrew Tate was preaching that at one point. There was some other guy as well that I can't fully remember that used to preach things like men are the dominants, they are the head leaders and they should act like it, and women are below that and that's their role. That's the projections that have been around for so long. And why? Why does there need to be some hierarchy, you know? Yeah.
It's terrible. It's terrible. And just I was reminded of this as you were saying, when I feel unsafe and stuff like that. A friend of mine, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you, Ashley. I've mentioned it to you, but I don't know how many times and how often, but I cannot tell you guys how many times I've been stalked and followed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had somebody ask for my number and I'm like, no. And they're like, well, why? Do you have a boyfriend? And I'm like, first of all, a man doesn't need to be involved for me to have a no. And second of all, that fear that you get when you get that pushiness, you know, when you're like, I'm firm on my no and I'm respectful with it, and you're being disrespectful. You're like, well, he doesn't have to know. I'm like, excuse me, my no is a no, and that's final. It's not something to discuss and argue. But to bring it back, I've had to undergo so many of these experiences where I've been followed, where people try to pull me into a car, and anybody listening to this and they're like, well, this is like extreme. That's not where like most people operate from. You don't know that. You don't know where those words, those podcasts can lead to, what kind of danger you're putting out there in society. And just yesterday, this broke my heart. A friend of mine came to Germany to travel here for a little bit, and she was followed for over an hour by a man through subway stations, through different places, etc. And she texted me in fear, and she was like, I don't know what to do. I don't speak German. Can you help me? And it broke my heart because I'm like, she was here for less than 24 hours. Less than 24 hours, and she was stalked. She was followed. She had to go to the police. They ended up driving her home and making sure that she's safe. And I, last night, reflected on this, and I was just like, it is absolutely despicable that things like that are happening, that there are people out there who think it's okay to treat women this way or treat anybody this way, regardless of their gender. And to then, if they don't get with their way and what they want, then to exude dominance and anger in response to that. It is disgusting. It needs to stop. And to see, like I always want to have some kind of positivity to it, because I'm like, something has to give. Like, this can't just be what it is. Like, we need to get better. There has to be some reforming here that we need to do. But still, the more time goes on, it's like it gets worse. Laws are being put in place. Human rights every single day are being violated left and right, no matter where you look across the world. And you have people all speaking out of just saying it's too much. We're not getting what we need. We need safety. We need help. We need change. And that is met with dogma. That is met with more resistance. And like Ashley said, I think that was beautiful. Thank you for that. We're changing. We're in a state of changing as a society. And that's why this resistance is rising. But as everybody always says, it gets worse before it gets better. And I'm like, it needs to end here. It cannot get worse past this stage. It really cannot, because we cannot live in a society that just treats people as objects, that treats women as objects, that treats people who are not in the box that certain people have labeled as okay, to then be met with anger and aggression and fear for their life when they step outside, or when they go to a different country, or when they try to do hobbies by themselves. It should not be this way. This is a symptom of a sick society, and we need to start taking this much, much more seriously and push against it, because this is an argument I've seen, and it correlates with this in the sense of like, oh, we need to do this, we need to vote to get things to be better. But these people that we're voting for, that make the laws that keep us, supposedly are supposed to keep us safe, are the very people that then undermine a different aspect of reality and keeping other types of people safe. And it's not universal. It's always one section against the other. And that's not the way that we need to be. We need to be together in this. Women have been speaking out for centuries now that they're not being treated the right way, that we need to have reform. That needs to be heard. LGBTQIA people have been speaking out for centuries to get their validity heard, to get their love heard and respected, to get their sense of self and being respected in this world. And yet continuously we're being met over and over and over again with the same excuses, and it's enough. It's absolutely enough. You can believe what you want to believe, but never ever ever think you have the right to harm somebody else for not aligning with your beliefs about whatever life should be. That is not okay.
Yeah. Just speaking on, I'm definitely just truly so sorry to your friend for the projective behaviour of someone who thought that they had every right to make her feel unsafe. Yeah. And same for you and for myself as well. Yeah. You will never have any right. No one will have any right. I'm speaking to outside will have any right to make someone unsafe. No right at all. Yeah. And, the thing that I was thinking about too when you were talking about it, as a survivor of SA and coercive control and many other experiences as well of being stalked, going hiking, being stalked in the city, it's just interesting to me how sitting here as someone that is it's interesting to me sitting here as someone who has not had the best experiences with certain men and their psychologies on deciding to make my space unsafe incredibly, and to harm my own body, which is mine, and take away identity through that person's psychology. I sit here as someone who would never talk about them the way that men have talked about women. And honestly, the amount of experiences that I've had with men, I have never felt safe in a man's company. And that's absolute truth. But I would never, ever project any inhumanity towards anybody, because that is not who I am. I would never jump on this podcast and say the most horrendous things, take away his right, his safe spaces, his choice, his no. I would never do that. That is not who I am. And that is not for the good of humanity at all. And I have my rage and I have my anger, definitely. And I have not forgiven, and I do not forgive right now, at least. But still, I would not choose to do it like that. And I chose that a long time ago, especially after the hike situation when that happened. I was so devastated. And I thought to myself, I don't understand why this keeps happening. And this is the thing, when you deal with victim blaming, you think that it is automatically your fault because people like to make it out so, right? So going through the mindset and the process of that, I began to think that maybe it is my fault and maybe this is just a target thing and all that right there. And my mind went to certain places, but never even in that mindset when things got really low did I ever go against just humanness towards men. You know? And this is the other thing too. I think about all those situations that have occurred, every unsafe and violent space. And I don't think that the people that say this stuff, the men on these podcasts, would ever think about maybe they're feeding the psychology that those men had. You know? Maybe you're just feeding that and you have no idea. How would you know? You wouldn't. You can't sit there and say no because this makes sense. This is it. This is that. You wouldn't know if you're feeding that psychology where someone thinks, okay, I can just follow her down because she's got no right and she's got no place. And I see this woman as not a human being. Like what Nina said, I am dominant. This is my space and I choose what I want to do in my space and I choose what I do to other people's spaces. You have no idea what can be created from that. Just from a simple sentence that guy made in his car, right? He has no idea about the mind and the power of it to be absorbed by someone and then to literally, because this is how powerful the mind is, create and build something from that. And this is the other thing, proof, right? We all have limiting beliefs, right? How many times have you experienced a situation, just one situation, let's say, and yet all these other thoughts from different experiences have come in, and then new things have come in, and then some other things have been created. So you don't think that a certain psychology or a certain mindset is going to hear this and then other things are going to just unfold from different areas and spaces and build upon that. The human psychology is powerful. The mind is powerful. You could be the very reason that someone makes a certain choice and you would never know about it. So honestly, care or don't care, but it really is just, it's the one thing that will not push humanity forward, where human beings can exist on this planet knowing that it is okay for them to exist, no matter the gender, no matter the preference of love. Everyone has a right to exist safely. And there are way too many spaces that are not safe, not even just in this topic, in so many other topics. But if we can talk about this one topic, which is what's happening, but it's been met with so much resistance, if we can try to work through each subject and all of its branches, at least people are trying, because we know what people deserve. We know what we deserve. Yeah. I'd like to go on a hike and not fear for my safety. I'd like Nina, knowing that we're so far apart. I'd like to know that she's safe, that her friend is safe, my friends are safe, that you are all safe, because you deserve safety. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is just horrifying to think that your no can be met with so much violence, you know, and How many times have I heard stories where women get doused in acid for rejecting somebody, you know,
Yes.
permanently scarring them for life? And we're not supposed to treat people this way. It should
Not
never
at
be
all.
this way. And that is not what being a man is about. Can I
No.
just say that that is absolutely not what being a man is about? It's not about asserting your dominance over everything and destroying everything and taking over and just that's an invader mindset. That's a disease mindset because that's what disease does. It takes over its host and it destroys every single cell in its body until it is only the disease. And a man is supposed to protect, if that's what you subscribe to, but it's supposed to protect the sacredness of the people that he's around. That is my opinion of it. And however that looks like for you, that is completely fine. But a man is never ever supposed to just enter a room and try to dominate everybody. It's supposed to uplift the people that are in the room and protect them and make sure that their best self is honored and respected, just like we women do with most people that come into our lives, you know, maybe not everybody, but I feel like a lot of women can be uplifting and supportive of one another. And I would love to see more of that in the masculine aspect of that as well, because we are here. We are not our bodies. We are not our body parts. We are not the things that we love or don't love. We are here to create harmony with each other. And we are here to create that for everybody, not just people who look like us, talk like us, believe the things that we believe. This is a world filled with so many different types of people. And we all deserve to feel safe. Just like Ashley said, we all deserve to have safety when we step outside. It is never okay for the things to be happening that are happening in this day and age. And, you know, people have often said to me, you know, do you think this is a new problem or is this something that has been there for a long time and is just now coming to the surface because we have social media? And it's like, I don't know. I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a pre-existing condition, like Ashley mentioned, that has passed down throughout generations. But I also think a lot of it has been fed by current media, by current things going on. And can I just also just interrupt and say that this doesn't help any man or any boy. This is actually only setting this whole dynamic back. When you treat people with no respect and you only treat people with what you think they can give you, that will set you back so far in life with many different things, not just with human beings, but with everything coming into contact. And I believe that, you know, the things you put out come back to you. And so I know that eventually this will stop, but I hope in my deepest, deepest of hearts that it doesn't escalate further than where it has been. Because while we can make jokes about how stupid people like this sound or comments like this sound, things like this fester. And it's very important that we take it seriously. That's kind of my thing of this. It's like this. We need to hold platforms responsible that allow people to post stuff like this. We need to we need to hold responsible our own, you know, friends, family members, whoever we see that treat people this way or act out in this way. And we need to be part of the resistance to that, because in no way, shape, or form is it okay to treat anybody on this planet with violence or with this type of objectivity. It's so soulless, you know?
It is. Completely. Even that conversation, my friend, of having the conversation with other people, it's going to take actually becoming aware and actually validating that awareness to then see it in other people and to be able to stop that themselves. Some people don't really want to have the conversation because there's so many branches, like fear of confrontation, fear of losing the friendship. There's just so many things that correspond to this whole issue in general. I said it even in the last episode, just how many things that are actually out there that really connect to one topic is a lot. Why people don't, it's like, what's it called when someone stands by and lets something happen?
Bystander? Bystander
Sorry?
effect?
It's like the bystander effect. That's what I can think about. Is just, you know who's a great example? This comedian, and I apologize that I can't remember his name. It kind of went viral, I believe. He made a statement on in one of his shows talking about how one of his mates was a rapist, and he didn't say anything, or I feel like it was that case of there were signs, but he never said anything. Right? There were signs. And this really brings me to the thinking of there are definitely signs that you can see, but it's if you can cope, if your psychology can cope with noticing them and actually saying something about it.
Yeah.
Because there is so much even to that topic. There are certain cultures that will protect their image over justice. And this is such a common reality. Will protect their image, will protect how people see them rather than, there are other cultures where getting a divorce is the worst thing possible. And if you do so, it's such a shame on the woman. It's the woman. If the woman leaves, it's an absolute shame on her. So she can't leave. It doesn't matter if it's a domestic violence relationship. It doesn't matter if it's violent. It's about the image. And that falls into even the episode that we did before about how health is only within the look. Society cares about the look more than human beings. And this is a part of that equation as well. It's caring more about the look, how you seem to your mate if you were to say something. That's why they say, oh, don't be a, what do you call it? Not a rat, when you speak out on it.
Yeah, rat.
What's it called? A rat? Yeah. That whole stereotype on don't be a rat, because if you're a rat, then that's the worst thing imaginable. So being a rat is the worst thing imaginable, but committing a violent act on another human being is not. This is such a major topic within itself, because just the fact that society doesn't see that as the problem, the inhumane violence committed, it sees more of being known as a whistleblower or a rat. That's the issue to people, not the violence. That being the one to stand up. That's why they meet a lot of the men that speak up with resistance, because being that man is seen as such, that is the worst thing imaginable, that you're speaking up for women. Not the fact that you're validating violence against women. That's not the issue. No, it's the men that are standing up and saying, hey, human beings here. We're talking about human beings.
Yeah.
And the right, not a privilege, the right of human beings. It's not a privilege to have safety, it's a right. Everyone deserves that right. This is a whole topic, my friend, because it's humanity that's the problem, as well as men. And I know people like to say that to not generalize, and I understand. I can fully fledge that it's not all men, but at the same time, who can you really depict as someone within that psychology? Because, when I went on that hike, right, I made it to the top. As I was coming down the stairs, this man was coming up to go to the top. And he said hi to me, and I was in such a good mood because I had just done this myself. I had gone somewhere myself. I had been so afraid to do something like this because I was afraid of my own safety. This was a part of my exposure therapy for myself, a part of my healing, right? I did this for myself. And my rage for this is still present. My anger towards this is still present, right? I said hi back to him because he said hi to me, because I do that. Right? That piece of that piece of
cake,
fecal matter.
Fecal matter, that's a good one.
Yeah, yeah. He, as I was making my way down, this is the thing too, he would have had to turn around at that exact moment to make it down when I did, right? And remind you all, he's going up to the top, right? He was just at the top. I'm going back down to make my way back down to leave, right? I turn around and I go. And I'm going back down the hill. I make it to the bottom. And even during the time of walking down, I kept checking behind me. And I thought it was an animal. It was just this feeling that I was getting. I was getting a bit worried. I felt unsafe, and I felt that before. I make it to the bottom. Next minute, he comes out. I hear running. I hear the bushes. I hear the ground. And I felt this at the pit of my stomach. And I turn around, and there he was. So I ran. And he's running. And do you think that if he wasn't coming after me, that he wouldn't have said, hey, I swear I'm not like chasing you? No. He had his eyes on me and he was running. I got to the car park. There was a group of women there. And then he stopped and he waited to see what I was going to do. I got in my car and I was shaking. I was so terrified. He gets in his car and he sits in that car park waiting to see what I'm going to do. And at that point, I'm frozen in fear. He goes and drives out after probably 20 minutes of sitting in that car. And then I just broke down. I broke down and I thought, how would I be able to depict whether this man was going to do that or not? Someone riddle me that. How do you know? How do you know? Is there some kind of little machine that you can put to their forehead and says bad person? Is there something like that that exists? How do you know exactly, right? You can't know. There's no possible way to know whether you're safe or not, right? He took something that I was doing for myself and he made it unsafe. He created something I had to heal from. He took me back further than I'd ever been and made it hard to leave the house. One person that chose to do that, put more time of healing on me because of what he chose, his psychology, and what the victim has to live with after that, including the victim blaming. You know, why didn't you go to the police? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? There's no cameras in the area. I have no photos. I have nothing. I know how this goes. Yeah. I'm not a first-time victim. Yeah. I know how this goes. There's so many other victims know too, and survivors know. Yeah. Not a lot of justice in this area. Yeah. And I mean, that's a whole topic that we'll get into one day as well, of the stigmatization of being a survivor and what you go through having these conversations with people, you know, where their psychology goes when you say this to them. Because that's another thing. It's just proof on proof where society is at, where they can't support victims and survivors. They meet them with questions like investigators. Because in their mind, it's so simplified. Why didn't you do A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Why didn't you follow the instructions list on how to survive? You think that in that moment, your nervous system's going to start listing the list. Hey, excuse me, person following me, can you stop so I can go through my list?
Right.
A. Option A, take phone out and take photo. Right. Option B, it's such an illusion to think that someone is going to unfold their survival in one way. It is an illusion. In the moment, in the moment, nothing else matters. But one, you surviving.
Yeah.
And two, you just being out of that situation. And you can't even control what comes up, your fight, freeze, flight,
Right.
all of it. You really don't know in that moment what is going to come to the surface, how your nervous system is going to cope, how your mind is going to cope, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. It all has to come in, how all of it is going to cope. And each one can be coping very differently because of past experiences. But my whole point is, how would you know? Because people seem to think that we would know who's safe and who isn't. I thought he was okay. Do you think I would think he would follow me down? I'm just meant to know. Next time I'll ask. Yeah. I get sarcastic with this sometimes because hearing this stuff is just, I'll just turn around and ask someone that's stalking me, hey, question, are you a bad guy? Do you have bad intentions for me?
Yeah.
It just sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud, right? Because it is ridiculous.
It is, absolutely.
It is ridiculous. No one wants to be generalized, and I get it. I totally get it. No one wants to be generalized as something that they're not. But then how does a woman depict that?
Yeah. I've been through my own rounds of victim blaming. Of one time I was 18. It was, honestly, it's weird because it happened in the States while I was living there. I was a child, and I think it happened when I was 12. That's when it initially happened, the stares from like grown men. You know, I would go into a Walmart, which is a grocery store, and I would walk around and I would have guys following me. And I'm, you know, like I would be with my mom, but I would try to break that wall. I'm like, Mom, there's something wrong. Mom, she's not paying attention because she's in her world. And then one time, I was out alone. I was 18. I was on my way to work, and I was standing at a bus stop waiting for my bus to arrive, and it was late, and it was one of those, it lived in the middle of nowhere, so sometimes the bus would come, sometimes it wouldn't. So I'm waiting, and this car drives past, and this guy's looking at the window, he's smiling, and I'm, you know, I just do like a head nod, nothing big, and he turns around. I see him turn around. He's like driving up, and then all of a sudden he turns back around. I'm like, oh no. Like I knew it immediately. And I was just like, oh, please leave me alone. And he stops his car and he rolls down the window. And I feel like I'm in a horror movie, you know. And he's like, do you want to get a ride? And like internally, I'm just screeching. I'm not screaming, I'm screeching because just the audacity of that. Because he didn't want to just give me a ride. And he wasn't just a good Samaritan. Hey, let me give you a drive to your work. That was not the intention. Actually, his face is so annoyed. And I'm like, no. And I'm scared on the inside because I'm a kid. Still, I'm 18, you know, I'm a grown adult in the law's eyes, but inside I'm still a kid. And this is like one of the very first time stranger danger has come up in my real life in this way. And so I'm like, no. And I say it with an attitude. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. And I'm stepping away. I'm like further going back to where I live. But I'm trying not to head that way because I didn't want him to know where I live. Because that's another thing that I'll get into in a sec. But he drives past and he's like, okay. And then he drives past and I'm like, I need to get out of here because I know he's going to come back. Did he come back? Yeah, twice. He circled the area 2 more times. And I hid in bushes. I hid behind pillars and buildings. And I'm like, a lot of men, I've noticed, pride themselves in the term of being a quote unquote hunter. I'm a hunter. I'm going to go out and I'm going to hunt for women. That is predatory behavior. I'm sorry, but it is. And anybody who acts this way or even uses that terminology is ridiculous to me because we are not objects to be picked. We are not prey out there waiting to be picked off by a lion or something. And it petrified me. And I ended up being late to work that day because I had to wait like an hour just to make sure, behind a pillar of a building. I had to wait just to make sure he wouldn't come back. And then I had to walk to work, which was right around and on the street where that guy was cruising up and down. And so it was petrifying to me. I arrived at work. I'm here today, safe. But when I went home and I told people about it, the number one reaction I got was, well, did you smile at him? I'm sorry. And even if I did, does that warrant that behavior? Absolutely not. And that was the last day I ever spoke to anybody else at that point in time about these types of experiences, because I felt like that was the reaction that I got. I was the problem. I attracted his behavior, when we all know very well that there's nothing that you can do when a person who is a predator has you in their sight. There's nothing you can do or say. It's about, like you said, Ashley, survival. It's about getting away. And the funny thing is, since then, I've like learned how to like cope with this stuff. Like, what are the things that you should do, et cetera, right? And listening to podcasts about how to be safe, how to act when people try to like single you out from a crowd and like make you feel small and vulnerable. And my time to shine came, I guess, because I went to a grocery store. This was 2 years ago. Moved to my current neighborhood, went to a grocery store. I was not alone. The person that I was with was sitting in the car, but I was inside just grabbing a few things. I'm standing in an aisle, I'm looking at stuff, I'm grabbing at it, and I could just feel it in my soul. Something was going on. So I look towards the entryway of the grocery store, and there was this guy, and he and I made eye contact. And immediately I'm like, I need to get away from here. It was an immediate knowing. And it was, to me, it was like, he's not a good person. He's going to try and approach me. I don't want any parts of this. And I didn't know it was going to turn into what it turned into. At first I was like, he's going to hit on me. It was just a certain energy that I got from the guy. And I was like, grab my things and leave. So I'm grabbing my things, but I didn't want to look like I was going to leave on purpose because of him, because I didn't want him to know that I knew what he was about to do. So I'm walking slowly, not trying to run out, walking slowly and walking through the grocery store. I'm like pretending to look at aisles and stuff. I have my things. And this is the scariest moment that I've ever had with this type of encounter. But I'm standing at the ice cream aisle. He eventually approaches the opposite of that ice cream aisle. So we're standing opposite of each other and the ice cream aisle is in the middle. And I'm looking down. I'm not making eye contact because I knew if I did, something would come of that. And I didn't want to open any type of line of communication. So I'm not looking, and he's just standing there. And he's very tall. The area where I live, Germans are very tall. He's super tall. So he's like towering over me. And everybody's just walking around. Nobody's noticing anything. And that's typically how it goes. And I'm just like, what was the thing that I learned in those podcasts? And it's like, make noise, be loud, attract attention, because they don't like attention. But it's like, you look around in real life when you're going through it and you're like, none of these people are going to help me. And I'm like, maybe, go reach out to an employee. What is an employee going to do? They're going to maybe escort me out, but they're not going to do anything about this guy. He hasn't done anything yet, quote unquote. That's the police thing, right? He has to actually do something. He has to harm you in some kind of way in order for him to be called and arrested and have some kind of reprimandation, which is ridiculous to me. So I'm just like, he better not approach me. And I have my fight or flight up. And I'm like, if he touches me, I'm going to go all in. And so I'm like, I need to just leave. I need to leave as quickly as possible. So I go to the checkout line and I go to a different one. He's much further behind me, but I'm there. I get my things and I leave and I go. And I'm kind of like turning to the side. I'm looking. If he's following me, I don't see him. So I'm like, oh, okay, good. I've lost him. But I'm like, I still don't have my guard down because I have this feeling something is going to happen. So I approach his car and my car, sorry. And this guy all of a sudden has a cart with him. And as I walk to my car, I just feel this presence behind me. And I look and I turn back and it's him. And he's just standing in the middle of the parking lot with his cart empty, looking at me. waiting for me to approach the back of my vehicle, of the truck that we had. And he's thinking I'm alone, of course. Little girl just out there alone in the wilderness. I gotta traumatize her. And what he was planning on doing, which I found out later on, I just thought it was weird at the time. Why does he have a cart all of a sudden? I didn't hear him grab a cart on the way out. So he must have somehow gotten it while he was still inside. And there are no carts inside, but he had no cart on him when he was trailing me or even walking inside. So it was very strange to me, the occurrence of everything that was going on. So I'm standing there, I'm looking back, and I'm legit, I have not said a word, but I'm staring him down. And he's staring at me and he's not saying anything. And he like turns to like leave a little bit, but he's still looking, not saying anything. Not, oh, maybe you forgot something. Oh, hey, I thought nothing. He's just standing there. And his energy was so bad. I've had many incidences of people stalking me, following me, not taking no for an answer, etc. I've never to this day met anybody who's had that type of really bad energy. It was like a black hole. And I knew that he wanted to hurt me in some way. And so I get into the car. I give the person in the car all my things. I'm like, please, we need to go. We need to go immediately. And I'm like slouching down in the passenger seat. I'm like, we need to leave immediately. And I'm scared that he's going to follow the car so he knows where I live. So I'm like, we need to go ASAP. And then the person, I'm like, what? What's going on? I'm being followed. Who? There's nobody. You're just imagining it. I'm just like, so I have to deal with the fear of that. I have to deal with how I'm feeling. I have to deal with the comments. And then on the way back, we're driving and there's this car following us. And it slows down literally as we approach my house. And it petrifies me. And that day changed me forever. But the thing that changed me even more was when I just all of a sudden was on TikTok later on that day. And this video popped up of like maneuvers that human traffickers pull when they try to target people. And the cart being alone in the parking lot thing is a theme. And what they try to do is when you approach the back of your vehicle and you open up the trunk, they will try to cage you in with the cart and try to take you in some way, either with your car or they try to drag you out to try to, but I don't know if I can use the word that's been used, but essentially drug you and drag you back to wherever it is that, they want to take you. This is a classic maneuver in human trafficking. And when I heard this and I legit that day had that experience, it just sent shivers down my spine. Even today, I'm still like shaking when I think about this because that person, to this day, I've met many terrible people in my life. I've never met that type of energy in a human being before. And that's when I knew that that was potentially a killer, I would say. And I've never seen him since. Got traumatized, never went to that grocery store, and I packed up on making sure that I have protection on me at all times. And I say this to say that you can go through so many different experiences and nobody deserves it, but there's nothing that you can do when you're actually in the moment. You can train yourself. You can hear people tell you like a list of things that you should have been doing or could have done, but none of those things actually work in the real life when you're experiencing that. And I hope that nobody ever has to go through actual physical contact with a predator. But if it does, please invest in some kind of self-defense classes. I say that not everything is going to go according to plan when you do have these run-ins, because you do have mental barriers that you need to break through of like, I need to like run away or I need to like fight now this person. And it can be very scary, but at least to have something with you just in case. Maybe it won't work, but I want you guys to know, anybody who's gone through it, who knows somebody who's gone through it, please just listen to them and believe them and let them be heard and give them help if that's what they need. Either drive them to a police station, believe what they say, be supportive in any way possible, because things like this are very traumatizing in a lot of different ways. And nobody ever, ever, ever should have to sit there and be like, did you smile at them? What did you do? What were you wearing? That is not okay. No.
I know what I'd say to them if that was ever said to me.
Yeah.
A child uniform. How do you validate that?
Yeah.
I really want to make people that say this uncomfortable. If you're comfortable to say that, then you're about to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's my own little thing on it.
Absolutely.
These are such big topics, and I hope that any of you that are watching, for future reference as well, our videos will go through the human experience. That's why we're called the Daily Humans Podcast. So if anything has brought up any feelings, definitely take that time away from your phone and do what you need to do for yourself, whatever that is. It's different for each individual, but just taking care of self, prioritizing self, these can be very big conversations. And I'm sure even as Nina and I are touching on them, they are definitely bringing some things up within. So, and it always will. It's not exactly a pleasant conversation to have, but I can't speak for Nina, but I know I use mine purely for the advocacy, but also to be heard as well. We all want to be heard. We all deserve to be heard. I use it to be heard, but I also use it to advocate for many things, including victim blaming and the whole depiction that a woman should know, and it's in their full responsibility to know. All the illusions is what I advocate against, to break that apart and to bring in the actual reality, as well as many other survivors out there that you'd see through many different experiences that they've had, unfortunately, at the hands of other human beings.
Yeah.
So just take care of yourselves. That's the main thing as well.
Yes, absolutely. Take care of yourself and know that you are not alone in this. Your feelings and your experience is absolutely valid. So many of us go through that. And then to anybody out there who sees these podcasts, these talks, or even people who think this way or say certain comments in real life, please speak out. I know that that can be a process, but it is always better to say something rather than to stay silent, because it can evolve to very dangerous levels, and it affects everybody. It affects anybody, because I've said this, I think, before as well. One person suppresses everybody else. So.
Definitely.
But thank you guys for joining in on today's episode. I know it was a very deep discussion, very heavy discussion, but definitely necessary. And we definitely send your love. Let's lighten it up a bit. Let's do a little dance.
Do a little dance. Every time you say do a little dance, this song just pops up into my head. Same song.
Which one?
Change. Do a little dance. Make a little love. Get down tonight.
Hey,
that song. Always. The last time that we recorded, I started singing the Spice Girls to Nina, and I was like, I'm sorry, but they're in my brain right now. They're in my brain. La 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 la. I have to say this too. Have you seen the movie?
Which one?
Spice Girls movie?
No.
I was obsessed with it when I was a child. There's a movie, and I can't find it anywhere. It's like it just has disappeared off the planet.
Yeah.
And it's devastating, because I really, really want to watch it again. It was such a good movie.
I'll find it for you. I'm really good at things like these. I've legit been looking for
in Europe.
Maybe
probably have it in Europe. Australia, we're not even on the map behind me, so we're just in the oblivion.
Yeah. I've legit looked for movies for over 10 years and finally found them last year and this year, so I'll look for the Spice Girls movie for you. No worries.
Thank you, my friend. Much appreciated. I will absolutely love watching that again. One part used to scare me, and if people have seen it, they'll know. There's a part where paparazzi comes out of one of their toilets at nighttime, and the music, the sound effect that they use to go with this, that freaked me out as a kid, obviously.
Yeah.
But I still want to watch it. So if you find it for me, let me know.
Definitely. And I'll keep you guys updated if I find it to anybody listening. Yeah.
Nonetheless, stay safe, friends, and take care of yourselves. And until next time,
Au revoir.
Toodles noodles. Bye.